Hey everybody, I'm Carl Verheyen, and I just played through a song that was sent to me by Guitar Techniques, and the song is called The Flow. And as you probably heard, it's mostly in the key of D minor. There's 16 bars, or actually 8 bars out in front of D minor, and I can hear that D minor 11 voicing, that kind of walking on the moon voicing that is D, F, C, D, and G. So here's a D minor chord. To make it a minor 11, you need to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and put a G on top of it. So a nice voicing is this, which is the same voicing can be found here, right? But a thicker voicing would have a D, F, C, another D, and put the F down low like that with a G in it. So I just played the Dorian mode throughout all that, and I've got a lot of lines that are my D minor Dorian lines, and they're different from my C major lines, and they're different from my G7 lines. You know, you put together lines that really outline the chord, but in my case are not just up and down the scales, you know, up and down. That's the last thing I want to hear from myself. You know, I want to hear much more of a much more of a intervallic line. To me, that's more melodic. I don't know. I've got corrupted ears or something, but I guess I heard too much of this in my youth, and now I want to play anything but. So I put together a lot of different lines that are inspired by people like Joe Zawinul, the keyboard player, and Joe Diorio, and if I were to actually tell you all my influences, I'd have to read off about 3 different pages, because, you know, and that would just be the guitar players, and then we get into people like John Coltrane and Sonny Rollins, and you know, of course, Miles Davis and Bill Evans and all the great jazz musicians too. But I find that if you think in terms of thirds, fourths, fifths, sixths, sevenths, and ninths, you can put together really great sounding lines, you know. I was sitting on the couch last night with my guitar, and I came up with this line for D minor. So I went D to F, and then an E, and then a G to A, and then an F. So, and then maybe, you know, depending on where you want to go from there. Go into the blues, you know, there's many places you can go, obviously. Kind of an obvious sound there, but very D minor, you know. So that's what I was doing for the first 8 to 10 bars. Then there was some chord changes. The chord changes went D minor to E minor to an E flat major 9. And then there was a B flat, an F over B flat to an A 11, or G over A as they call it here. So I tried to make each one of those changes. When I played the D minor, I tried to outline to the E minor. You know, arpeggiate it, whatever you want to call it. I just call it outlining the changes. And then when I hit the E flat major 9, they call it a B flat over E flat, which kind of gives you no third, but I think the third is very appropriate in this chord, you know. But I'm sure I made it more of a Lydian sound, because A flat would not work after the D minor to E minor. So then when you hit that E flat, you really want to play in the key of B flat, which makes it E flat Lydian. And the reason you do is because, to me, it's in a chord progression, so it has to relate to the chords coming and going from it. You know, A flat would feel real out of the way, out of the ballpark. You know, it just doesn't belong after. You know, so I'm very conscious of that, the fact that I need to really be in the Lydian mode. And also this tune called The Flow, it needs to flow, and it needs to have that. It needs to have that kind of ethereal, floating vibe. In the other song I played for Guitar Techniques, I demonstrated a technique that I do, but I'll give it to you here in case you haven't seen that one. My guitar is set up to where the E string, when I pull all the way up on the bar, it goes to an F. The B string goes to a C sharp, which is I have a half step here, a whole step here, and a minor third here. So I know what my intervals are going to be. So I can play an F natural, bend it up to a G, and then when I let go, my finger's on a D, but it's already bent up to an E. So I've got the comfort in knowing where, pulling up all the way on the bar, I know where it's going to go. I know what the intervals are going to be. So in order to get some of that floaty stuff, I played a few of those minor licks. You know, I know that going from D to F or A to C and those lines seem to work really nice in that floaty section, so I did a little of that. Now the chords go into another thing. There's a bass line of which he's just kind of playing some triads over. But I analyzed the triads, and they are F, C, F, G, C, F. Right. So if you know it, if you know your harmony, you know that that is all diatonic to the key of C. So what I tried to do there was get out of my minor sounding lines in D minor and get into my major sounding lines in C. But because the thing sort of sat on an F chord quite a bit, and the bass line was, you know, an F type, what do you call it, an F pentatonic bass line, I sort of stuck a little bit to that. And so it helps that I know my F pentatonic like this. And I know I'm showing off, but I know my F pentatonic and all my pentatonics from one end of the guitar to the other in every position. You know, and I probably leaned heavily on that, even though I know I was in the key of C major quite a bit, because there's a B natural in the G chord, there's an E natural in the C chord. So I'm trying to add those things. At the very end of the song, he has some interesting changes. He goes D minor, E minor, and they're both 11 chords, right? And then B flat over E flat, and then B flat over F. So we've got that bass line. So I changed chords for each one of those. I changed keys. I played E minor, and I played D minor, E minor. Then I played, well, I guess I played E flat Lydian and B flat, and that's all in the same key there. E flat being the fourth of the B flat scale. So E flat Lydian would be, you know, E flat to E flat in the key of B flat. So there's your harmony lesson for the day. And the guitar I used is a stock 1965 Fender Strat, but I put a 5-way in it right when I got it, and it's one of the cleanest Strats I own. You know, my CV Special, which is made by LSL, borrowed the output of these pickups and the neck from a 61 Strat and the weight of a 58 Strat. So I tried to combine all my favorites, but this particular guitar, you can see it's got what they call a transition headstock, which means it's right when Fender was selling to CBS. This was made in January of '65, so it's still pre-CBS, they say. And the transition headstock seems to be a little thicker than my other guitars, my 58 and my 61. So it's got a big, big sound, this guitar. It's got a lot of tone, and it never lets me down, you know. Some guitars you get out there in a room and you just don't like the sound of your own guitar that sounded so great at home. This one seems to be consistent everywhere I go, and I'm real grateful to have one. Now, I hope I didn't bore you with all that theory stuff, because I know a lot of you guys just want to know what the licks are, you know. D minor licks and stuff like that. I have a little thing called the CV Academy, which is part of my website. It's a learning site. And for many, many years, I've been keeping a lick book, actually since 1978, just a musical diary of all my ideas and lines. So I try to give as many of these musical ideas I can in the CV Academy. So check it out. It's probably something, if you're an intermediate player and you're wanting to get to be an advanced player, it might really help you. So good luck with your music. Thanks a lot.